And we can clearly see that there was some type of gap down or some type of large move lower. Because I can see that this moving average is trending lower. Then it bounces, pulls back, and we kind of have, I don't want to call this a retest, but you can start to see that the moving average goes sideways and then a little bit higher, sideways, then a little bit higher. Bottoming tail here, up, 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 sideways up, pull back up, pull back up, pull back up. Great. We know that the moving average went from down to sideways to starting to move higher. That's great. We know that these 5 green bars here put in a higher pivot high. See the pivot to the left? That's good. And when they did this, they also pulled away from the moving average. We all know that the moving average acts like a magnet. When a stock gets too far away from it, it gets pulled back like a tractor beam. It gets pulled back towards the moving average. And there are 2 ways that can be done, through time and through price. The first, quote, pullback, it was a correction through time, right? See it right here? Sideways, 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 sideways. Note, it was far from the moving average. Now it's much closer. We don't have to touch it, but when we get close to the moving average, that's a sign, a signal that the stock has rested long enough and it's ready for the next move up. When we get close, doesn't have to touch it. When we get close to the moving average, it's a sign. We consolidate for 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 bars, 10 bars, whatever, and we move higher again. We put in a nice new high. The angle of the retracement is quite nice. The location of the retracement is quite nice because if we draw this out, we're kind of sitting in that area, right? So we're in an area where, remember, the ceiling over here to the left, the ceiling becomes the floor. The sellers up here now become the buyers. So we break through the ceiling, we pull back, and the new floor is the old ceiling, which is higher. We're at or near the rising moving average. We're probably at about a 40-ish% retracement. Now, is this the cleanest pullback? No, there's topping tail, topping tail. Here's kind of a trigger right there. It's the most important thing we have right now. What's still intact? The trend and the trend line is still intact. And that's the most important thing we need to see. Entries, okay, we'd like them to be perfect, but my bias is more important. I'd like my entries to be near perfect, but my bias is even more important. Because without a strong bias, your entry doesn't much matter. Because it's not based off of a higher time frame trend. And that's what you need to make money. We're putting in a higher high and a higher low, and a higher high and a higher low. We're riding the trend line. We're riding the moving average. We're holding areas of support. We're not overly extended. There's no wide range ending bars. Like, we're good. So then the stock gaps up and moves higher. Pretty significantly moves higher. And once again, we get really far from the moving average. And like a magnet and a tractor beam, it pulls back towards the moving average. I don't know if that's a good enough buy setup. Well, what if it's a daily chart and it gaps up and this bar right here is a daily bar? And I can drill down to a 5-minute chart and find a better entry. I see that little bottoming tail on the daily bar. I buy the pullback to support, right? Let's do it right here. See that right there? Let's make it like orange or something like that, right? What if this is a daily chart and all of a sudden we gap up and right in the first 10, 15 minutes of the day, this thing pulls right back to the orange line. And that orange line is a buy setup at the prior pivot high. And you have an entry. And boom, it does that for the rest of the day. That is professional trading. Moving along, the stock moves up, up, up. Gets far from the moving average. Like a tractor beam, does a correction through price. And it pulls back. Now note, the angle of retracement here is very similar to this angle, right? Almost the same. But again, once again, a little bit of a sloppy pullback, but our trend is still intact. Still have higher highs, still have higher lows. We're still on the trend line. We're still above the moving average. The most important things I need and want to see are still happening. Then we get 2 more wide range bars, okay? put in a higher high at a higher low. Now, this is where we need to start having conversation. Yes, it's a higher high. Yes, it's a higher low. Yes, the overall trend is still intact. However, the angle is steeper. The depth of retracement is also more concerning. No, it is not 100% retracement. 100% retracement would be there, okay? But it is deeper than the other retracement. So one, the angle is steeper. The level or depth is deeper, okay? It broke the moving average. We broke the trend line. Fourth leg of the move. So we have angle is steeper, depth is deeper, broke the moving average, broke the trend line, fourth pivot of the move, broke minor support. There's overlap. The new high is less significant. We have here, orange, here, orange, here, orange. See the difference between this orange line and this orange line? Then this orange line and this orange line, and then this orange line and this orange line. We're starting to see momentum is slowing down because the new pivot high is less significant. This new high is the least significant new high of the move. Buyers are starting to get a little tired, starting to run out of steam a little bit. Okay? And then let's go one step further. And the same thing is happening up here. This new high is, again, starting to get a little weak. On the pullback, 80% pullback. Choppy? It's actually not a choppy pullback, but the angle of retracement, terrible. Super steep. Level and depth of retracement, super deep, 80%. Broke the trend line, broke the moving average. In fact, when we started this whole move, so you note the last two pivots have broken the trend line and the moving average. And they're putting in weak new highs. And the angle of retracement is steep. And the level of retracement is deep. It's telling me saying, I was strong for a while, the first 2 or 3 pivots, but the last 4th and 5th pivot, not so much. If you're already in the trade, just ride it up and keep raising your stop. Ride it up and raise your stop. But you know you're getting topsy. If you're not in the trade, do not take the 4th or 5th buy setup. Take the breakout here, take the buy setup here, and the buy setup here. 3 and 4th and 5th one, careful. Careful.